Welcome back to Fuego Founders Podcast. We're so excited. This is Yesenia, just the CEO with
Joe Ochoa Jr., El Gran Empresario. We're super excited. We have a special guest today, don't we?
Así es, Elvia. We have Elvia from Texas Tech Trade School, and we're excited to have her here because she has an amazing story. But not only that, she's changing lives. And I can't wait for her to tell you all about how she did it and the struggles and the wins. Elvia, welcome.
Hola, how is everybody? Thank you for having me, Elvia Quintanilla with Texas Technical Trade School.
Yeah,
Yay.
super excited. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Finally, right?
Yes, I appreciate your time. Honestly, I know you're busy. You have your students that you take care of, but I honestly admire you. And I was like, we have to have her in the show. Whenever I told Joe, so yes.
I'm glad. I know I've been wanting to meet Joe as well. And, Yesenia, she's one of my dearest friends now. We met through this journey, and I don't know how I would do it without you.
Yes, no, I was actually telling them that we actually met through Instagram.
Yes.
We became like Instagram besties, and I was just like,
Really?
hey, come to like an event. We actually went to Latinas in Heels event, and that's a networking organization, and she's met a lot of great people through there. So
I just
shout
love
out to
people,
them.
I think that's what's the easiest about my job is that I really do enjoy people, and I like to learn about them and knowing their wins and their struggles, and from there finding solutions together. And so my job, sometimes people think it's really hard, and it is. The stress was a lot of responsibility, but if you truly enjoy something, you really don't work.
But tell us, who is Elvia?
Well, Elvia is just a regular girl. I feel like I'm just a regular girl. I've had a very up and down life, but that's who I am, and that's why I am who I am. So I embraced everything that I went through in life. I'm a first generation Mexican American. My parents were from Villahermosa, Tamaulipas, and that's where my majority of my life I grew up in the Valley. So I came here to Houston when we were maybe like second grade, and then from there we were in Fort Worth, and then in Houston, bouncing back and forth, family. And 10 years ago, I got here to Houston, back to Houston, because I was born in Houston.
Oh.
But I was raised in Texas, I say, because I was all over Texas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a son that's 15 years, about to be 16, and that is a lot of who I am, and why I am who I am. So all the struggles and things that I went in through life, and then having a son at a very young age, I got pregnant at 17, and now having a almost 16-year-old son. All of those things, all those obstacles and wins made me who I am today and got me to the position that I am today.
That's truly amazing. It's interesting because I'm sure when you were going through that, right? You said you were 17 years old when you got pregnant. You don't know what's going to lie ahead. And what you're doing right now, breaking barriers and making an impact in a community, I applaud you for that. It's truly amazing for what you're doing in our community. So
I appreciate it. Well, I mean, that's why I'm able to understand the students that we help, because I was that student. I was that high-risk youth that was very smart, very capable, very able to work hard, but I didn't have a pathway. I didn't know the resources, or I thought I knew everything, and now I'm able to sit down with my student in front of them and let them know, like, we think we know everything, but we don't. And if you just let people help you, and you don't think it's a handout, because it's not a handout, it's for you to empower yourself, for you to be better, it's for you to break barriers for your family, then you'll know that it's bigger than just you. It's bigger than just the student. It's their family and who they're trying to take care of. And that's, to me, it reminds me back of when I was a young girl, and how I helped my family, how I helped myself get out of where I was, and now become one of the only Latinas to have a trade school here in Houston, Texas.
That's awesome.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Very proud of that. Yes, thank you.
I honestly admire you. Like I've been saying, I was just telling Joe before you walked in that how he mentioned it actually, that there's not a lot of people that were that they feel like they're not meant for college, and how these schools are actually helping them, because it's like it's a trade, and we all need need that
Exactly.
in the States. And, the United States is a land of opportunity. I always tell clients, I'm like, just go for it. And then you can
Yes.
find so many other trades that you can do.
Yeah,
Very true.
in listening to what we're talking about, you said something, and our community really thinks that it's a handout, right? They think like, oh, it's a handout or whatever. But I think what happens is that we have to trust people, and I think that's what people are doing. They're trusting you, and you're guiding them. But that's why we're doing what we're doing, is because we feel we have an obligation to our community to be able to serve. Because if we don't, these kids,
Yep.
this youth is getting swept under the rug, right? And so I've been part of different advisory groups or what have you, and it was because of that too as well. But for you to go out and build a school, like I want to know, how was that? Like, did you dream of it one day, or what? How was that? I really want to know, because I'm excited to have you here, and what you're doing. Like I said, it's truly amazing. But how did this come about? Because it's not an easy task.
It's not me, myself, not knowing how, like I said, I've always been a worker. I always know how to work. My parents instilled that in me at a very young age, and my grandparents, my grandma. But through that is why I got this opportunity, because I never said no to opportunities. And from there, I didn't know what my life was going to be. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to have a school. I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to be. And everybody tells me you would have been a great lawyer, because I love to advocate for people. I love to fight for people's rights, and I've always been that person in high school. Whenever we had ESL students and we have foreign exchange students, I would love to learn about them. I would go be friends with them. And then they would, when people would mess with them, and I would say, hey, that's not fair. So I've always had this in me, but I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And then, of course, not having the best, sometimes
Support system.
and also myself not believing in myself and thinking I'm just going to be another statistic like we always think, and saying, well, what's the point, But there was just something in me that I was like, no, you just can't be another statistic. There is a lot more in life, and you do have a kid. You are married at this age, but it does not matter, because you can still go to online school. You can still work 2 jobs. You can still, whatever your dreams are, there's many things that you can do. And I think at a young age, I didn't know that. And I'm just glad God always had that voice in me that was like, Elvia, you're meant for more and more, more and more. And from there, it wasn't easy. The school that I was in, that I learned everything in, was probably the hardest thing that I ever done. Not only because I learned a whole new industry that I had no idea was even alive, I didn't even know it was there, but it was very hard because it was not professional at all. And I had to keep a face. And I was like, this is a blessing for me to be able to learn these things. And I was like, I'm going to endure whatever I need to endure, because I'm learning and I'm giving back to my community. Because when I found out that we can scholarship people, and I was going to be at a job where I was going to be a customer service at that time, and I found out that we had grants, and I'm like, how come our people don't know about this? I could have used this grant myself. And sure enough, I did. I put myself through community college for petroleum engineering technician, and for free. The state paid for that. And me learning my job, I was able to help myself. And then I told, well, if I can help myself, then I can help others. So
Right.
I started telling my family about it, and I was like, my friends about it. And then
We even met.
Exactly.
For example, like the minority certifications that are
Yes.
out there, like that's Elvia was like, we need to tell people about
we
this.
do, because my thing is, one thing I did notice about myself is that I understand bureaucracy very well. It just comes to me. I understand in between the lines. I can see things for what they are, and I can therefore educate my community, because that's what's the hardest thing about us. We don't understand, so we're scared, so we don't want to get involved. So we leaving money on the table. There's so many resources for our children and for ourselves to be able to get ourselves out of these situations. Economic development, I didn't even know what that was. And it's taxpayers' money is going back to, what we pay, going back to our education, and then us being in areas. And if we're in these areas that are better, paid for, then that's when we have more opportunity. So it is good to know these things, but we don't have time. We're just working. That's what our, usually our
The mentality that we had in the
That
back
is
in
just
the
work.
culture, and you
Exactly.
coming here to work, don't think about education. You're here to make money and then supposedly go back, right?
Exactly. So, I got here I was 23 at the time, divorced, separated from my high school sweetheart. My son was 6. So I was, very devastated in my life. But I was like, you know what? Just like when I was younger, I was like, I'm not going to be another statistic. And, life is life, and we got to keep going. And I got here, and 10 years later, learned everything that I had to learn at that job. I went from customer service to admission representative to head of admissions to office manager to, at the end, director of the school. And that experience was able to give me the, instead of going to school because I didn't have a college degree, I dropped out twice. That gave me the experience to be able to open up a school. I had to have experience to either have a master's or have 5 or more years as a director under a school. And thank God that, I had that, and now I'm here today and able to do that. But it was one of the hardest things, and it's still one of the hardest things that I'm doing because I thought I knew what it was to open a trade school.
But this is for yourself, though.
Exactly. Yes, but the money situations, the having to take care of, payroll, and having to take care of people, and then people, they have their own lives, and then having to structure everything, and then from there trying to build and have, big colleges like HCC, San Jag, Lone Star, U of H. Those are their competitors, and knowing that, it's just, it drives me. It makes me, and they're not my competitors. I say we're all collaboratively working together, but in my sense, I'm thinking I want to be just like them. I want to be just as big and great like them. So to me, that is my aspiration, to be
and
there.
you will be. There is no doubt. Listening to your passion and the tenacity, what I want to know is what drives you. Like every morning that you get up, right? What is that drive? Because I see it. Like
I'm
that's what it is. Yeah.
No,
She's hungry
it's
for
sure.
It's
my son, and it's myself. Myself and my son. Me seeing my son, and how, I don't want him to be another statistic himself, and him knowing that he has any opportunity to do whatever he wants to do in life. And he is a kinesthetic learner. He has ADHD, but he's so smart because I see him every day and everything that he does. And just like I was sometimes misguided because of my ADHD, when I'm, talk a lot or move a lot, or, people tend to write you off because you can't do much because you're never going to focus, so those things are.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a lot of parents out there that might be listening to us right now, and maybe their kids are about to graduate high school and they don't know what they're going to do with them, and kind of like not do with them, but they don't know where to advise them to, like, okay, go to college. Maybe they're not meant to go to college, or they want to do a trade school. Like that is a great way to, encourage them. So where can they contact you in case they want to reach out to you?
Well, my school website is Texas, spelled out, techtrade.com, and we have our email is texastechtrade, as well as spelled out Texas, at gmail.com. And our phone number is 832-944-1042. Those are our office numbers, and you can text us there as well as a cell phone. But like you were saying, as far as the moms, that is one thing I would say. I'm a mom. I'm a young mom as far as, to my son, and he's 16. But I have a lot of moms that come to me that, they're the ones to sometimes put me in front of their sons because they don't know that we have resources. The mom knows, but the students sometimes don't know because they're busy doing everything else they want to do. And I would say, don't ever make your kids feel bad for wanting to be in a trade, because I think that is one of the biggest things why young men and young women don't want to go into trades, because the labeling of it, they're like, that's just labor. It's not just labor. It's a career. It's a professional career, and it's just like any other job that you start as an intern or you start at the bottom, and what we call in the blue collar job, we call it labor, but you call it in corporations, you call it internships. Yes. So it's similar. You get paid, you do harder work, but you learn, and that's what we need our young men and women to know, or anybody that really wants to work, is that you're not going to be at the top. They get that out of your mind. Unless you come from money, unless you win the lottery, you are going to work hard. And if you don't work hard, it's going to be very hard for people to respect you, and you're not going to get there fast. And so I tell my students, what type of pay do you want and what type of person you want to be? That is what your pay is gonna look like. I said, if you show up late, if you have your pants sagging, I said, if you have hoodies inside the classroom, that's a safety hazard. All of that is who you are, who you want to be. And we're not your parents. So if you want to get more money, then be a more money person. Just telling them those things, and they're like, okay, miss. They start respecting those things, because usually people tell them, well, you look dumb doing that. No, they're not dumb. They just don't know any better. And if you talk to people with respect and you tell them what are the reasons you are doing these things, then they'll say, okay, I want better for myself. But you just say, you just got to do it because I say you got to do it. then young adults have a problem with that because nobody wants to be told what to do. They want to be encouraged and guided into what to do.
Yeah, words have a big impact on how we communicate with people, right? I was talking to somebody. It's like, how can you tell that person the same thing I told them and they do it?
Yes.
I said it's the tonality, how I say it, right? How I communicate that makes
Yes.
all the difference in the world. And you're exactly right, right? I mean, when you're talking about the hoodie and all that, I talk about to my team, it's like, look at, football players and baseball players or whatever. A lot of these guys, you're seeing what's happening right now, people coming out of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and all this stuff, is because they're putting time, their discipline, the hard
Yes.
work ethic every single day, and they're taking these jobs from other people that live here in the States, right? And so it's the same thing. When it comes to trades, I will tell you, you can mark my words, you already probably know this. The people that are doing trades will make more monies than attorneys and doctors.
Yes.
I have people on my team that work with their hands every day that make over 6 figures a year. And people are like, what?
It's very true.
I have guys on our team that make over 6 figures working with their hand every day, and they love it. They've had opportunities to move up into management, whatever, and they're like, no, I enjoy. I'm an artist. I'm a craftsman.
Yep.
I get to design. I get to do these things. And that's the way they see it, and it's amazing.
It's
and
true.
I hope we can build more artists and craftsmen through your, tech school, but more importantly, to understand that it's all right to work with your hand.
Yes.
It's all right to provide for your family and make a great living. But that is the future, no
We
doubt.
have, that's what, I mean, things have shifted. Before it was we need more technology. We still need technology, but it's who's going to fix the technology now? So since we depend on AI, we will depend on AI, and we are depending on so much computers and everything. They break down. They're not people, just like doctors, they fix us. Well, we need people to fix machineries. And if we don't have that, that's the backbone of America. You can't take that. We can't build buildings. We can design all the way. But if we can't build them, what are we going to do? We're just going to have pictures of things. We're just going to have ideas and dreams. And that's what I tell my students. Just like a doctor knows what's behind that body, you know what's behind that wall. And you should be very proud of that because that's what you're getting paid for the knowledge in your mind. So don't ever tell anybody, don't let people tell you that what you're doing is not going to be great because you are what's going to make that great. If you feel like you're not great, you won't be great. It's all up to you, to make something happen. And like I said, you go in those interviews and you sound confident, and that's gonna sell you more than anything. I said you represent yourself, and if you can't even advocate for yourself, then nobody's gonna have that confidence in you. Unfortunately, that's so I teach my students very well to advocate for themselves. If anything, they're gonna learn is the trade, but 50% is to advocate for yourself as well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man.
I am just amazed.
Well, what I want to know and hear, and I know a little bit, but really, this podcast show is really to get that insight, right, from you to our audience.
Yes.
What all can they do, right, when they join or they go there, or maybe their brother, their cousin, or whatever is looking at it? What can they learn, right? What career paths? What all
Definitely.
trades are there?
Well, we right now are an electrical trade school. At the time, we will have HVAC in the summer of this year, and in the future, advanced manufacturing. But we focus right now on electrical, and we're very great, good at this program because we have great instructors. We have an electrical engineer, 2 master electricians, and a journeyman that work, and they teach our program. And they created our program. The curriculum is from what they've done, and they retired. Mr. Mark is 40 plus years with Centerpoint, and he was a designer and an electrical engineer there. And Mr. Pat owned his own company for 40 plus years. So those 2 guys are the guys that believed in me, that we worked together, and they have developed an amazing program that is pre-apprenticeship electrical program. So if somebody wants to go to the union after, we want them to go to there. If somebody doesn't want to go to the union after, then we don't want them to go there. It's what the student wants, and that's what we want them to understand that. And we'll educate them on what each are and what they think of that. Not what I think, not what my teachers think, not what, anyway, it's what you think for yourself. What is best for your life? If you want to go to the union, why? This is how it works. If you don't want to go to union, this is what you should do. But we have an electrical program that is 8 weeks, 200 hours. It's hands-on, and we have taken everything that we think our teachers don't think that they need in the first time at that job as an apprentice electrician. And what we learn is 2-way, 3-way, 4-way switches, commercial, residential, blueprint reading, conduit bending, the 3 major bends that we do, panels, ceiling fans, and then material recognizing. Of course, advocating for yourself and how to, interview. Job readiness is practice every day, show up on time. If you can't show up time to school, you don't show up time at work. And that here, it's okay because we're learning. But at the job, you get fired. I said, so you can't expect, I said, that employer, especially in construction, there's schedules that you have to meet, and unfortunately that employer, that's their money you're trying to cut into. They have schedules. So if somebody comes to you and tells you, well, I'm gonna take about $500 from you just because I want to be late today, does that sit well with you? And they're, when you tell them those things, they're like, okay, no. So we try to, we show them the job readiness of this field blue collar job. It is hot, it is cold in the lab because we have it outside because we want our students to be successful. We want them to know if you can't do this here, then it's going to be very hard for you to do it out there. So we rather just, show you, give you a tour, and if you are already looking around like, this doesn't look okay, I say, look, there's many other things that you can do in life. Go to Workforce Solution. They're your best friends, and they have many programs and many grants for you. And there's nursing, there's engineering, there's, many things that you can do. Yeah. Electrical technician is not the only thing you can do, but it's one thing that we do. And if you want to do it with us, we do it very well. And our students come out, we build them a resume. They already know because they have their own their own projects that they do themselves with their hand. They have a portfolio, and then from there, they're able to go to these interviews and say, look at what I have done. I haven't worked in the field, but I've done these projects myself, and I know how to do them. And opposed to virtual, which a lot of, students can't learn how it is. You can learn a lot from virtual, but you cannot learn as far as the little details of the work because it's just too intricate, Yeah. So that's pretty much how we run our program. And they start making anything from $16 to $20 once they come out in an 8-week program, and to somebody that's in poverty, that's a big difference.
Life-changing.
Life-changing. And I've seen it. We trained almost 100 and something students in the 2 years that we've been, and we hope to train another 300 this year.
What's the big goal? Right? What's the big goal of this thing? Like your vision, right? I can tell you're a visionary, right? Like, what is the big goal? Like, you want to be in different states? You want to be in different cities? Like, what is that? What does that look like?
I definitely want to grow in Texas, but my big goal is to go to rural areas where there's less opportunities for our students and build schools there because, like I said, the only thing is usually big universities around there. And a lot of students can't even go commit to a community college. These are the students that I'm helping, the students that don't even have the opportunity to do a 6-month program because they have many obstacles. Their parents, they have to work 2 jobs, things like that. So they have to have something shorter. So my goal is to have multiple schools in the state of Texas, but in very necessity areas in rural areas, and those kids can really benefit and grow and help us out as well.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all this input and information and all this that you have shared for our community. Definitely, we will have you again, either at our event or another show because there's so much out there, and we do definitely want to know about the programs that are coming up once they're ready. So I do want to say thank you so much. I'm one of the persons that I believe in you, and I know you're gonna make it big, and we're here to support you as well.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that we support each other in the community and then just start saying, hey, this person we were talking about this right before the show. It's like, you need to talk to this person or what have you, because at the end of the day, we have to help each other because if we don't, then who's going to help us out?
Exactly.
Because, entrepreneurial journey, sometimes it's a very lonely journey, right? And although people talk about, oh, there's this and you can get money to start this business and all that, and when you go and look at it and you talked about earlier, it's not there.
That's one of the things that I was a little disheartening about whenever, when I quit my job in 2020 after 10 years of being in that school, it was a very hard decision. I was, director of a school, and that's the most money I ever made in my life. But I said I have ethics, I have morals, and I had to step down. And from there, it was like either you build a school because you have the opportunity and you have the experience, or you go work somebody else. And I was like, I'm gonna try the hardest one first, and if I fail, then I know that the safe one will be go and work for somebody else. And I thought in my mind, I'm a dreamer. I thought it was gonna be easier than because I had the experience, but I had no capital. I forgot that I needed money.
The biggest.
And from there, I've learned that if you don't advocate for yourself, I have yet to receive a loan from, from minority-owned business or women-owned business. I'm not saying that those programs are not great. They're great. But I'm saying they're also hard to get. And it's also, me educated in my field, and and that I'm very, driven, I still wasn't able to get myself a grant. So imagine other people that can't. So, so we need more people like you, Yesenia, that have that knowledge and, in financial knowledge that can help us, understand it, because we're trying to make a dream happen here, but we can't do it without the funding. So
the financials need to be in
all
order.
The financials need to be in order, especially for me that is a state school. I get audited every year, financial audit twice a year. And those things I don't come from understanding business that way. I come from working, so those are all things that I'm very responsible for. And that is what people say it's hard. That to me is what's hard. The people, the students, the school, the creating, that's the beauty of my school and my best, I love that. But the financial part, how am I going to make it? How am I going to sustain it? Or, I'm a for-profit school. Usually you're nonprofit schools. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I just got blessed into this position, into this, part of my life. And I learned that there is a lot of nonprofit schools out there. But because I did the hardest thing and I was able to endure it, now I am in a position where a lot of people can collaborate with me, and then we can now create a lot more, So that is, to me, why you should, endure these struggles and understand that it's a temporary phase. It's a temporary phase, and as long as you're consistent, as long as you keep showing up, as long as you try to see the silver lining in every situation, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, well, they say collaboration is the new currency, and obviously you're doing that. I'm glad that y'all hooked up, because now we're able to hook up. And if you're just now tuning in, we are with Miss Elvia, and she's doing an amazing job. We're super excited to have you on. We're definitely going to have you back on. And we want to thank our sponsors before we cut out today.
That's right. I want to say thank you to SAS Tax and Business Solutions for sponsoring and inviting Miss Elvia.
Yeah, most definitely. And Joe Ochoa Roofs and Even More, serving our communities, serving our families, and serving our businesses, and America's Empresarios. And that's today's show for Fuego Founders. Super excited. I'm Joe Ochoa Jr., El Gran Empresario, and
Yesenia, just the CEO.